You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to my 2020 NBA mock draft special here on the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and once again, as promised, I'm not doing this alone. I'm not smart enough to do this alone. So I have the legend, the icon, the draft dynamo with me here, Nick Ohrnberger. Nick, how are you?
Well, I'm doing good, buddy. How are you? I think we're getting a little. You peaked my microphone, my headphones here. That was a hell of an intro. So, well, I'm
out of breath.
yeah. Well, take a minute. But very happy to be back working with you, buddy. This is it's honestly a real pleasure. So thank you for having me on.
No, my pleasure. So before we get into the draft,
sure,
I just want to take a moment to say something really quickly. Obviously, I'm aware of the death of Tom Heinsohn. I'm actually sitting underneath a basketball autographed by him, Red Auerbach, Frank Ramsey, Jim Luskatorf, Gene Conley, Casey Jones. So I respect the kind of person he was, Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame coach. The guy won an NBA title every year he was in the league as a player except his sophomore season. I think that's incredible. I'll get more into it tomorrow, but I just want to say this. 1956 NBA draft. The Celtics made 3 picks in the first 2 rounds. They had Heinsohn as the territorial pick. They drafted Bill Russell, and they drafted one of the Joneses. It was either Casey or Sam. I don't remember off the top of my head. But that just speaks to the talent building that you can do in this draft. You can't throw away any picks, Nick.
No, you can't. And you were right. It was Casey Jones.
It was Casey. Okay.
Yeah. Just an unbelievable job of getting these guys together. And it's incredible to think about it. But obviously condolences to the family and friends, to the Celtics organization, an icon lost.
So we'll get into the 2020 draft right now. Really weird to be doing this on November 11th. Obviously, today is Veterans Day. Thank you to all the veterans out there, past and present, those who gave their lives, made the ultimate sacrifice. I can't thank you enough. Quite frankly, I'll say this. I hate that we have Veterans Day. The reason being, we shouldn't need a day. We should just honor them every single day. If you ever see a veteran, just thank them for their service. One time, when I was younger, there were these group of 10 veterans sitting at a table, and I went around the whole table and shook all their hands. That's a true story.
Listen, I think it is definitely far too seldom we find ourselves being grateful for the freedoms we have in this country, especially in such a divided time. But you're right, to the idea of taking down an entire 300, 400 years experience of men and women fighting for this country and boil it down to a day, it should be all the time. So if you see a veteran today or any day, shake their hand and thank them for their service because they deserve it.
So before we get into the draft, just one other thing. I feel like this draft hasn't gotten a lot of publicity. Like I asked my dad yesterday, and he's not a big NBA fan, but I asked him, have you heard a lot about this draft? And he said, no, I haven't. And I feel like there are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, we're in November. We're going up against the NFL, college football, the lead up to the draft, the crazy postseason that we had in baseball. And number two, I think it's because of the lack of a true number one. There's no Zion in this draft. There's no Karl Anthony Towns. There's no Anthony Davis. There's no Andrew Wiggins. There's no clear-cut top guy. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're right, but I think it goes a little further than that. You're right. And it's not uncommon for us to sort of glide by the drafts that don't have that big star player that everybody's fishing for, everybody's tanking for, quite frankly. But it's more than that. College basketball didn't get to finish their season. College football did. College basketball and the NBA, their seasons were fragmented by this COVID outbreak. So I think it's the COVID effect. And I also think now that we are experiencing and seeing the second surge of this virus, the general and genuine fear from our public that, is there really going to be a basketball season this year? Is there? Because I don't know. And I think that's something that's being talked about widely across the NBA and in people's households.
And you brought up the fact that there was no March Madness.
Oof.
I feel like that's going to, oh God, that's when I knew this pandemic was serious. When March Madness was canceled, that's when I knew. But I feel like that's going to play into this draft. I feel like we're going to get a lot of these guys wrong, and not necessarily our picks, but just in terms of how high we have guys ranked. I look a lot into how you play under the bright lights. I don't care how you play in some meaningless December game in front of 500 people and terrible lighting with no one televising it. I want to see how you play under the bright lights, the entire college basketball world watching. So I got to tell you, I feel like I'm flying into this draft a little blind.
I think we both are. But you know what, Jake? One of the interesting things we're going to see, and I'm glad you said that we might get some of these picks wrong, is for me also, March Madness is the proving ground. So the scouting for all of these teams is incomplete. Look for this year, a lot of these pick 18s, pick 22s, high second-round picks to flourish, because these are guys that may have had their draft stock soar during March Madness. So it's going to be a weird season.
Definitely. So here's how we're going to do this. It's similar to the NFL mock draft. I'm going to go first, picking for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Surely.
Nick's going to go to the Warriors. I'm going to do the Hornets. Nick is going to do the Bulls, etc., etc. This is who we would pick, not who we think they're going to pick.
Right.
Then again, there are no locks in this draft, so that's kind of irrelevant. Also, no trades. I know there are a bunch of names being thrown out, including my beloved Nets, Jrue Holiday, Bradley Beal, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Crazy names. I think we could see a lot of trades, but as of this moment, November 11th, this is the order we're using. Nick, do the rules seem clear to you?
I'm confused. Can you say that again?
Sure.
No.
So, no, I can't. I think I explained it well, and this is my show, so I do what I want.
Fair enough.
So, we'll move on to the draft itself. The Minnesota Timberwolves have been on the clock for a while, and they're kind of a weird team to have the first overall pick because they have some building blocks. Karl Anthony Towns. They made the big trade for D'Angelo Russell. They still have Jarrett Culver. And when I look at their roster, they really need a power forward. The thing is, though, there are no power forwards in this draft worth taking first overall. I would love to give them James Wiseman, but him and Towns will not work together. Wiseman doesn't want to be a Timberwolf, and I don't blame him. So I'm going to go to the wing, and the best wing player in this draft is Anthony Edwards out of Georgia. When I watch this kid play, he checks all the boxes for me. Fantastic length, fantastic athleticism, really strong. I understand he didn't jump out on the box score, but if you just watch the games, the kid is so talented. I kind of like that he can settle into a secondary role and take some time to mature and build up his game a little bit. He has all the tools necessary to succeed. Anthony Edwards reminds me a lot of Victor Oladipo. What are your thoughts on that?
And think about Oladipo for a second, a guy that really didn't flourish until a little later in his career. I think we might see the same thing with Edwards. It might not be obvious when he hits the floor right away, but he's got a terrific team to help him progress, or rather terrific, already ready-made players. So I think this is a perfect landing spot for him. I don't think there's a whole lot of question about this. I'm sure they'll make us wait the full 10 minutes or whatever it is to pick him, just to build suspense. But Edwards will be first, no doubt about it. That was
your guy?
I like that you brought up power forward, but I don't. Well, you know what? It's just when it comes down to it, it's all about who's the most talented player in the draft. At number one, take the most talented guy, and that's Anthony Edwards.
So we move on now to the Golden State Warriors, because of course the Warriors have the second overall pick. Of course they need all the help they can get. I mean, they lost Kevin Durant. It's not like they still have guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Oh, wait, they do have all those guys. How did they get the second overall pick?
It's kind of unconscionable to allow these guys to pick at 2. But we'll let it happen. Look, they're already really well built. You have a healthy Stephon Curry. You have a healthy Klay Thompson. And you know what? There's all these really good players surrounding this team. Obviously, they're going to bring back Draymond Green. They may have already done that, actually. Yeah, I think they did. I think he's still under contract. So here's what do you do to help this team? What is the first thing you can do? I don't think what you need here is a guy who's going to help them right now. So for me, Anthony Edwards will be the guy if he's available, but he's not because you picked him. So you go to the 7-footer, you go to the big man. They need a presence down low. James Wiseman is the pick. It's a simple one. This was a layup, Jacob. Come on.
And he's going to make a lot of layups in the pros. I love James Wiseman. It killed me that we didn't get to see him a lot at Memphis. The few times he was on the court, he dominated. He looked like a man among boys. I think if we'd have seen him for a full season, he would have been the clear-cut first overall pick.
Yes.
Maybe the Timberwolves could have looked to do something crazy to make room for Wiseman. It kills me to make this comparison, but I see a lot of Patrick Ewing and Wiseman. I really do.
Well, I'm
not just saying that.
I don't think it's unfair to say. I don't think he's coming in nearly as polished as Patrick was when he entered the league. But this kid has so much room to grow. He's going to be an absolute problem in the paint. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this kid can do. And he's versatile. He's very versatile. And he's oddly athletic for his size. So
yes, he is.
I really, really, I cannot wait to see him play. Golden State, if anybody thinks or thought that they were going to take a nosedive this year, you really should check yourself because I don't think it's over by any shot.
Nets Warriors NBA Finals next year? How does that sound to you?
Could you hear me vomiting in my mouth? I don't know.
I may travel to California for that.
Oh, God. Well, buy me a ticket.
So we move on now to the Charlotte Hornets. And they need front court help more than anything. But this isn't a great draft for front court guys. I like Obi Toppin, but I don't think he's a top 3 prospect. I'm not crazy about Onyeka Okongwu. And those are the best guys by a mile in the front court. James Wiseman would be the pick if he's available, but he's not. So I have to take the best player available. His father would hate it, but it's actually a good landing spot for him. You know him. You love him. LaMelo Ball goes to the Hornets. This kid is 6'7", and he passes just like his brother. It's crazy to watch him play. I think he can be a really good defender in this league for a long time. Super young. I think he's only 18, 19 years old. He's just going to get better. The thing is, he's not the best scorer in the world, and I understand the Hornets need buckets, but give him time. I really think LaMelo is going to turn into a great player in this league.
All right. Look, there's two major concerns I have. Number one, you're not just drafting LaMelo, you are drafting LeVar. And this is a dream. I don't think you're right. I think this is a dream location because it links him, LeVar I'm talking about, to Jordan. So I think this is actually a dream scenario for him if it happens. It's not in a big media. Yeah, it's not a big media market, but it is owned by the most legendary player of our time, possibly of all time, in Michael Jordan. So I'm looking at it from that aspect, but at the same time, I'm wary of LaMelo. The only thing I will say, and this is the other thing, he's one of the only guys coming out in this draft that has actual professional basketball experience. Everybody else is a greenhorn. Say what you want about playing overseas, but it is professional. So you're right. Give him time. Let him progress. His offensive consistency is something that concerns me, but we'll see what happens. I don't hate the pick. I don't. Someone's going to pick him.
So we'll move on now to the Chicago Bulls. They've been a high lottery team for a while, and they haven't been able to get these pieces to coalesce. They made the big move in hiring Billy Donovan, and it seems like they're primed to add another really talented young player. Who are they picking?
I've been thinking about this a lot, and I honestly thought this would be the perfect place for LaMelo. But
it would be.
I think, again, what's that?
It would be the perfect spot for him.
I think, again, right. I think, again, what I'm looking for is who can help them now and who's one of the more talented guys. There's a kid I liked out of Oregon, Auburn. Isaac Okoro goes fourth to the Bulls. I think he's just one of these guys that's going to help them. He's 6'6". He's a two-way player, and they need that right now. So I think this is a good pick. It's a building block pick for their future. I'm going Okoro here.
Okoro has all the physical tools you'll look for as a small forward, 6'6", 225 pounds. Fantastic basketball IQ, smart with the ball, makes a lot of smart decisions. Not the best scorer in the world, and, that'll cause him to be a surprise pick to some, but this goes back to the March Madness point. If Okoro had gotten a chance under the bright lights to show what he could do, he could definitely go into that top 3 range. He has all the talent in the world, Nick. I like the pick a lot. So we move on now to the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron James just announced he's coming back, and he's bringing Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and Shaquille O'Neal with – oh, wait, no. I forgot. Which direction does time go? The Cavs are kind of a weird team. They really need a shooting guard. They really need a power forward. And I think this is the right landing spot for him. I'm going to go with Obi Toppin out of Dayton. Fantastic athlete. Can score efficiently. I understand he's not the best defender in the world, but he's a smart guy. Give him time. He's going to work out. Obi Toppin reminds me a lot of a more athletic Drew Gooden. I know that's a weird comparison, but it's true.
I like your comparison. I do. And I like his versatility. I think one thing that's shocking is how high this guy can jump at his size. He is a leaper extreme, humongous hands, is constantly running the floor. This is a good pick. This is an energy guy. Cleveland needs a guy that's going to get that fan base excited again. I think Obi Toppin fits the bill completely. They should be happy to get him.
I like the idea of him playing with Garland and Sexton a lot. I think that can work, can learn from Kevin Love. I really think that's a great landing spot for him.
I agree.
We move over now to the Atlanta Hawks. They had a fantastic draft last year moving up for DeAndre Hunter, picking Cam Reddish. They still have Trae Young, obviously. Where are the Hawks going?
Well, you just said it, but you got to keep in mind how important Trae Young is to this team. This team does nothing when he's not on the floor. So what do they need? I mean, what's going to get them over the hump? Well, you'd like some of these big players, but I don't think we're gonna. I mean, we've already taken a lot of the top talents off of the board here. But they need somebody who can create a shot outside of him. So I'm trying to think of a guy. I've been back and forth over this. You know what? I think this is yeah, you know what? I think this is where the kid from Florida State comes in. I'm going to go with Patrick Williams from Florida State.
Ooh, okay. See, this is where we really disagree.
Okay.
I'm a lot lower on Patrick Williams than most. There were a lot of games where he just disappeared playing behind Devin Vassell. It just didn't look like he was the best player on the floor. I understand all the tools are there, all the talent, that he can have, but I want him to be more polished. I wanted him to get more time. Again, a March Madness guy, a guy who who I'd have loved to have seen play under the bright lights, but I didn't get to see that. I have to ding him for that a little bit.
And that's fair. It's a fair critique. But what really leaps out to me, this is a 3-point game. This kid steps into his 3-pointers as well as anybody coming out of this draft. I think this is a guy who, and at times is able to really create shots for himself. And he's got a big frame. So I don't think he's going to get bullied in the NFL. Good Lord, in the NBA.
He's going to get bullied in the NFL
like some of these other young forwards.
He reminds me a lot of Paul Millsap. I'll tell you that. We move over now to the Detroit Pistons. Kind of a weird team. They move on from Andre Drummond. They still have Blake Griffin. I'd love to give him a point guard. I'd love to give him a center to replace Drummond. And, yeah, I think I'll give him a point guard here. I'm going to go with Tyrese Halliburton out of Iowa State. Did I steal your pick?
Yeah, unfortunately you did there, Jake.
Fantastic size, fantastic shooter. I've never seen him make a bad decision. I understand that, he doesn't have the fantastic impact you'd like a player to have if you're taking him in the lottery, but I just think he projects so well into the NBA. I'm trying to think of a good comparison for him. What do you say, Sean Livingston before the injury?
I don't think that's out of this. Yeah, it's not a wild comparison. I like that comparison. I think you're basically hitting it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks.
So we move over now to the 8th pick in the draft, and that belongs to, what a coincidence, the New York Knicks. They get screwed over in the lottery again. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad I'm not making this pick because I would pick the last player on my board. Go ahead, Nick. I'll let you go.
Well, here's the thing, and I want to caution your listeners by saying that I absolutely have not watched a single bit of Knicks basketball. I haven't since all of that Dolan nonsense between Oakley and then the Fan. I refuse to watch or patronize this team any longer.
And again, just really fast, the Paul Nepper interview that I did a while ago, Nick, you helped a lot with that, so thank you so much.
Oh no worries. It was a fascinating listen, so I'm glad you got the opportunity to do that, and any help I could give you was not only graciously given, excitedly given. So thank you for utilizing what you do of any of my expertise. I don't know. Anyway, look, I would have taken Halliburton here,
right?
Because you got to ask the question first: what do the Knicks need? The Knicks need everything. They need everything. But the biggest thing is I'm not kidding, Jake. This team needs literally
You're not
everything.
wrong.
And
Ntilikina, Smith, Peyton. I mean, come on.
Look, here's what I'm getting to Ntilikina, but I'm not going to go too much deeper into this. But what they need is a superstar point guard, a franchise point guard. We're hearing trade rumors, God willing, for Russell Westbrook. Probably not going to happen.
You want Westbrook?
I actually do. I think his energy.
Ooh.
I actually think his energy is exactly what they need. They need a guy who's willing to go all out, balls to the wall every single day, every single play.
It would be a typical Knicks move, I'll tell you that. And you get the fans excited.
Yeah, you will. Here's the problem. I was going to pick Halliburton. He's the only franchise, maybe, point guard in this draft that I see. I am not taking the Frenchman. We have made too many mistakes with that so far. So for me, you just go best available. And as far as I can see, the best guy left on the board, I think it's the center. I think Okongwu goes here from out of USC.
Okay.
I like the pick. I like big men. You know that. I think it's a building block pick. And again, I can't make trades. So this is where I'm going here because there's no other clear-cut point guard that I can pick here.
Here's the thing with Okongwu that I don't like. And I understand the talent that we're dealing with. Crazy athletic, fantastic defensively, and, he does remind me of a more athletic Mitchell Robinson. But here's the thing that scares me. Where is he playing in the NBA? He's not going to play power forward. He can't shoot threes. And he's 6'9". He's going to get bullied inside. I just don't know where Okongwu plays in the NBA.
My hope for a guy like this is that he can become like a Kendrick Perkins, like agitating defender in the low post. He's about the same size. Perkins was a lot heavier. This kid needs to put on weight. He needs to put on muscle. He's already a pretty broad guy, but he is at his size, he is a terrific defender. So I'm taking a chance here. But again, had Halliburton been available, I would have taken him. But Okongwu's the guy.
So we move over now to the Washington Wizards. Obviously, a lot of trade rumors there with Bradley Beal. They still have John Wall. I'd love to give him a center. Okongwu would have been the pick if he was still available. I think I'm going to give him a point guard here. God only knows what's going to happen with John Wall coming back from that injury. And I got to be honest with you, Nick. I understand why you passed on the Frenchman, but I like him a lot. I got to go with Killian Hayes here. Fantastic size, plays the pick and roll well, played professionally in France, and he produced too. A lot of people in France raved about his production. I'm kind of curious as to where you think Hayes would go if he played stateside.
I didn't have him quite this high. I honestly didn't know where to place him because it's hard when you have these guys coming out of Europe. It's the same reason it's hard for LaMelo Ball. If he wasn't so extraordinarily talented, it would be very hard to place him. But some of these teams have trouble evaluating talent for whatever reason coming out of Europe. And maybe it's the competition. Maybe it's whatever it is. I have the same issue. And I've experienced it recently with guys like Ntilikina. So I don't know, man. I don't know where the perfect place is for him. I do wonder if New Orleans would have been a good place to play with Zion.
Yeah, that could have worked.
But it's just pitch and catch at that point. But I think that's too low for his talent level. So I don't know. I think this is probably where he ought to wind up.
So we move over now to the 10th overall pick. The Phoenix Suns have this pick. There are some rumblings that Devin Booker isn't the happiest guy in the world. They'd be insane to move him. They've needed a point guard for a while. Unfortunately, the top guys aren't there. There are a few guys later down who I could see the Suns maybe taking, but what are you doing?
I mean, if we could trade, I would trade down to get one of those guys. But again, what do I always say? When your draft need is not available, go with the best man available, the best player left on the board. In this case, it's strangely a guy from Israel. I'm going to go Denny. I always mispronounce his name, Avdiha, out of Israel.
Thank you.
Yeah, did I get it right?
I'm not sure if you pronounced his name right, but I'm really upset that he almost fell out of the top 10. I love this kid.
I do
Absolutely
too.
love this kid.
I really do. At his size, his ball handling ability, and it's absurd. He's a point guard in a 6'9" frame, and I highly doubt, Jake, we're going to see them not experiment with that. He's a guy, since there is no clear-cut point guard, he's a guy who can play the role. He can also play the pick and roll, and he's a good pull-up three shooter, especially in transition. I like this kid a lot. I'm glad you're right. I'm glad I'm picking him in the top 10 because he deserves it.
I'm going to make a really bad comparison.
Uh-oh.
And this kid is not going to turn into this guy or the other guy I'm going to mention. But just in terms of a 6'9" guy who can ball handle, who can distribute, don't you see a little bit? Yeah, you know what I'm going to say. Don't you see a little bit of LeBron and
Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I do.
I see it.
I do. I don't see LeBron because he doesn't have the size. He's not coming in looking like a linebacker that should be in the NFL. He's coming out looking a lot like Kevin Durant. I don't think – you're right. The talent level is nowhere near comparable. But who knows? We don't know what he is. We did not – well, he wouldn't have been in March Madness, but, we did not get to scout this guy enough. So I'm excited. I think he can be a legitimate starting forward in the NBA. I think his ceiling is superstar. But I think we can expect him to be an everyday starter.
So we move over now to the San Antonio Spurs, a weird era of Spurs basketball, the first time since dinosaurs roamed the earth that they missed out on the playoffs. Look, they really need a point guard. They really need a big man. No big man available. So I'm going to go with a point guard here. And I got to tell you, I can't think of a better landing spot for this kid than the Spurs. I'm going to go with R.J. Hampton. Fantastic athlete, very versatile offensively. His fundamentals need work. He's not the smartest guy in the world. And look, I want him to get to the foul line more often, but I think the Spurs can work with Hampton and turn this kid into something really special. All the talent in the world is there. He just needs a coach to get it out of him.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think who's more perfect to get it out of him than Pop? But at the same time, Pop has so much. I'm almost mad I took Avdija before Hampton here because he would have been perfect. Pop has so much experience coaching European players. But I think Hampton's going to absolutely flourish. He's got great size for a point guard. This is not – he's not a big guy. He's kind of skinny, but he fills it out well, explosive. And I think that's kind of what they need right now. They need an explosive guy who can cut into the middle. And he'll probably be utilized as a combo guard, I would imagine. So I think it's a good pick.
So we move over now to the Sacramento Kings. They seem to be headed in the right direction. I mean, they've been so bad for so long. They're on a little bit of an upward trajectory. I'm not saying they're going to go on a crazy run like 0-2 or anything, but I think there's some talent there with De'Aaron Fox and maybe Marvin Bagley if he can stay healthy. What are the Kings doing?
Well, again, I think, first of all, this is a prove me league for me. And again, this team has proven one thing, if nothing else, that they simply cannot get out of their own way. They cannot develop talent. And when they do, it winds up playing somewhere else. And we've seen it with Cousins. We've seen it with plenty of players. Look,
although they did hit on Buddy Hield.
They did. Okay, you know what? That's fair. They hit the jackpot, by the way. So
right.
I don't know. This one that was going back and forth in my head. And I think it really is a toss-up between what is your instincts here. And again, my instincts are always just try to find the best player out of position and pick them. There's another kid from Florida State I really like, and I want to know what you think. This kid Vassell, Devin Vassell. He's a 6'7" guard, a 2 guard. He can play the wing. He's gonna be a late bloomer. He's very small, but I think that might help them to have a forward, a guard who's very, very agile, and very hard to track as a defender. He's got a lot of work to do, but I think at this point in the draft, I think this is the best shooting guard we have left, unless my research is failing me. I think he could be a really good pick for the Kings and a kid that can build some legitimate progress with.
I like Vassell a lot. He reminds me a lot of Kerry Kittles when I watch him play. Ooh. And I can't give him much higher praise than that. I loved Kerry Kittles when he was with the Nets. Kerry Kittles, almost the best player ever. Go ahead. I was going to say something, but you can go ahead if you want.
No. You know what's funny is Zoom is so freaky because sometimes you'll blank out and I'll think you're done talking. So it's okay.
Can I just say I appreciate the technology that Zoom is, but Nick, I'd love to have you here with me.
Oh God!
Oh my gosh!
One day in the future, man, I miss it so much. But all I was really going to say is I don't think your comparison's crazy at all, and I think it's a toss-up pick for me. This could go one way or the other. He could completely flop, or he could become a legitimate star and regular in the NFL. And good God, I keep doing that. I'm too turned into the Chiefs right now.
Yeah.
Into the NBA. But again, toss-up pick for me. He has all the tools. He needs to put on weight and muscle. So we'll see what happens with him.
And all I was going to say with Kittles is Kerry Kittles is the best player ever, really, to almost spend his entire career in the NBA with the Nets. He spent a few games with the Clippers, so that's why he's out of the equation. The best player now, probably Karis LeVert, which is kind of scary. I want the Nets to develop their own guy. I really do. But
if LeVert could just stop. Look, Karis LeVert, if he can just stay healthy, he is a star-level talent. He really is.
Yeah, I do think the Nets are going to trade him, though, for someone. I don't know who. Jrue Holiday, Bradley Beal, God willing, James Harden, God willing, Paul George, maybe Ben Simmons, but I don't know. It's tough. One thing about the Vassell fit with the Kings, I'm not crazy about him playing with Hield and Bogdanovich. I'm not sure if that can work.
There are only so many touches. I recognize that, but I think you got a guy like Hield. I think you got people around that can spread the ball. I think this could work. You have to wonder if this is the right coach for it, but I think it can work.
So we move over now to the New Orleans Pelicans. Obviously, Zion last year saving that franchise, the big Anthony Davis trade, bringing in Lonzo, bringing in Brandon Ingram. They have the right guy there in David Griffin. And I have to give the Pelicans some more front court help. Zion can't do it all by himself. I'm going to go with a kid who I really like out of Memphis, Precious Achiuwa. Gesundheit. Look, fantastic physical specimen, really strong, crazy tools. I think he can turn into a really good shooter. I understand that he's not a plug-and-play guy. He's going to need some time to really hit his stride. But, call me crazy, I think the Pelicans have guys in Zion, B.I., and Lonzo who can compensate for that.
Well, I think you are hitting the nail right on the head with Achiuwa. God bless you. But it's gonna be, it's gonna be interesting to see how that jives. How that jives with the Pelicans with their new dynamic with Zion Williamson. I think he's the right guy, but I wonder how much of the Zion effect, and what I mean by the Zion effect is the same thing we saw with Shaq with the Magic. It's the same thing we saw with Dwight Howard. How much attention needs to go on that one guy to make somebody else work and be able to work around him? We're going to have to see. But I think Achua is definitely – I love the choice, by the way. I think it is a great pick here. This is the right fit for him.
So we move over now to the end of the lottery. Let's see. Bad team here, right? Oh, my God. It's the Boston Celtics. The Jeff Green trade finally paying off. That's true. That's how the Celtics got this trade, by trading Jeff Green. Gotta love it. I think I know who I'd pick if I was Danny Ainge, but who are you taking?
So here's the thing. If you can't win with the team they just fielded, and they didn't, let's just make that clear.
Gotta love it.
I enjoyed every minute of it. And I'm here in Boston, enjoying it, loving it. I ate it up.
Can I just say, as bad as the Pierce and Garnett trade was, and I'm not saying the Nets won it, the Celtics won it, but you've got to win with those guys. The Celtics only have two guys from that trade left, Brown and Tatum. If they don't win with them, that trade didn't work out as well as it could have. That's just fact.
When is it time to say that this project, this whole deal, this failed? They failed here. When is it fair to say? Does the team need to be broken up? Does Brown need to go play somewhere else? When is it fair to say this experiment failed?
You've got to give it at least until the end of Walker's contract, I think. Give it until the end of Kemba's contract.
Which is interesting because that was when they really find, we're spending the money. It doesn't matter if our guy isn't coming. We're spending the money. We're going to give this a real shot. I agree with you. So what do you do now? You fill in blanks of need. You fill in positions of need. You try to bolster a team as it's already built. And just try to find guys who can play with this team as it's already assembled. Brad Stevens needs to pick this and get it right. So if it were me, I'd be picking another versatile guy, another guy who can kind of, be an intimidator, have a physical presence, but also be a great shooter and create his own shots. I'm going Aaron Nesmith from Vanderbilt here. I love this kid. 6'6", 213. He reminds me also. He reminds me of Rondo in a way. Rondo was shorter, but his wingspan is nearly 6 inches longer than he is height-wise. This kid is huge, crazy long, and he's just kind of a ready-made shooter for the NBA. I love this kid. I think he's going to have an immediate impact on a Boston Celtics team that desperately needs clutch shooting.
Nick, you instantly became my father's favorite person. Obviously, my father went to Vanderbilt. It's kind of funny with Vanderbilt. Last year, Darius Garland gets hurt right away. This year, Aaron Nesmith only plays 14 games because he got the stress fracture.
Right.
Really sad. But look, you're right. This kid can shoot. This kid can shoot. And that's a Celtics team that needs someone who is just a consistent shooter. I like Nesmith. I have him kind of lower on my board because of the injury, but all the talent is there. Reminds me a lot of Alec Burks. I'll tell you that.
Ooh, that's a great – I like that too. That's a good –
Thank you.
Coming right out too.
Can I just say, I feel like it's really fun to do these NBA player comps. I don't know why. I just have a lot of fun doing them.
They're more fun than doing NFL player comps because especially when you get to quarterback, because how many great quarterbacks are you going to compare the same guys to? Like, oh, he's the next Peyton Manning. Oh, he's, he throws like Joe Montana. Like, it gets boring. You're always saying the same guys.
You're talking about Trevor Lawrence, right?
Exactly.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Oh, boy.
So we're out of the lottery now, and we go to a playoff team. That's right. The Orlando Magic made the playoffs. Kind of funny if you think about it. You don't think of them as a playoff team, but they were a playoff team last year. Look, they really need a point guard. It's just that simple. And this is a guy who very early in this process, like just as the college basketball season was going, was viewed by a lot of people as a can't-miss guy. I understand his team struggled. UNC had a terrible season, and they'd have been lucky to make the NITs. But all the talent in the world is there in this guy. I have to go with Cole Anthony. I just think when you look at a guy who can score, who can play defense, crazy confident. He's a guy who I know at the Nike Academy impressed a lot of people, went up against NBA talent and held his own. I think Cole Anthony makes a ton of sense for a Magic team that really needs a point guard.
Well, you're not wrong. What I like about him is his aggressiveness. He's never shy, and about getting in there and finding his shot. And he's a confident scorer. I like him. He's an open court guy, and he's going to be able to play the floor, change ends fast. The other thing I would say is that he's definitely more of a I don't think it's unfair to say, but he's definitely more of a scorer than a facilitator. But I think this is a guy who's going to be a good shot creating lead guard on a Magic team that is I think is lacking that in a severe way. So I think it makes sense. I think you're right on the money here.
So we move over now to the Portland Trailblazers. Obviously, their backcourt is set with Lillard and McCollum. Damian Lillard picked with a Nets pick. Yeah, I know. Gerald Wallace. And CJ McCollum, too, out of Lehigh. The Trailblazers actually have this history of picking these guys out of small schools. Lillard, McCollum, Jerome Kersey, Terry Porter. A lot of these guys come out of small schools. It's weird. Where are the Trailblazers going?
So here's the thing. What was the biggest problem for the Trailblazers in the season? By my estimation, they could not stop anybody on the wing. They had absolutely no ability to do that. I'm reaching here, Jake, but there's a guy coming out of Washington. He's not at the look, I'm done picking, best available for a lot of these teams because we need to fill positions of need in the teams that are already, ready to still win. It's not like too much has changed in Portland. They need a guy who can stop on the wing, and the guy is Jaden McDaniels. I think at his size and his length to be that agile, and his rim play, this is going to be a very, very good player. Little bit of a reach on my part. I don't deny it, but we're getting there anyway.
I have him 20 on my board.
Okay.
You're taking him at 16. That's not a crazy reach. I do like McDaniels. I love his size, 6'10", 200 pounds. Crazy defensive. This kid is such a defensive talent. I mean, I like the idea of him playing with Whiteside. I like the idea of him playing with Nurkic. I just really think they can clamp down defensively. The offense needs work. I'd like the motor to be there a little bit more, but I like McDaniels. I think that's a solid pick.
All right. Well, McDaniels it is then.
So we move over now to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the Timberwolves actually got this pick from my beloved Brooklyn Nets. So the streak of the Nets not using their own first rounder continues. Obviously, this is their second pick in the draft, having picked Anthony Edwards first overall, and I'm picking for him again. So, hey, I can't be worse than David Kahn, right? Look, I said it at the top. They really need a power forward. The best power forward left is Sadiq Bey out of Villanova. Really liked watching him play under Jay Wright. Really versatile, can guard multiple positions. Crazy wingspan. Crazy good shooter. Not the most athletic guy in the world, not the best defender in the world, but I think Bey has a ton of talent. He reminds me a lot, and I know this may be pushing it a little bit, but reminds me a lot of Chris Middleton.
Ooh, yes. Okay, I can see that. Chris Middleton now or Chris Middleton when he came out?
Chris Middleton now, just in terms of how well he can shoot.
Okay, because I was going to say Chris Middleton kind of came in as a guy who can shoot, but had really struggled shooting at the NBA level when he came out.
Chris Middleton was a second rounder.
What's that?
Chris Middleton was a second rounder.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying it was not an immediate boom. We got nailed it, a guy. But yes, Chris Middleton now, absolutely the comparison sticks, and you're correct.
So we move over now to the Dallas Mavericks. Luka and Porzingis, one of my favorite dynamic duos in the NBA. And that's not just because Porzingis, former Knick, terrible trade. Still a terrible trade, by the way. All right, let's just make that clear. I don't care what the Knicks do with those picks. It's a bad trade. You don't trade Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic. My God. I had Doncic going second overall in my mock draft in 2018. The Kings took Marvin Bagley. Oh, my God. Just think about that for a minute, Kings fans. I'm sorry. Where are the Mavs?
You know what? I have no idea. I'm going to be honest with you. I genuinely have no idea. It's going to be interesting. I highly doubt they're going to address their front court. I gather it's going to be somebody in the backcourt. So you know what? Let's just throw a dart at the board. I'm going to go with Tyrese Maxey from Kentucky. I think he fits that system really well. Very versatile, good size, good strength for a combo guard. He's more of a shooting guard. Let's be honest. Does not facilitate much, but he had flashes during the abrupt season. Had flashes of absolute greatness. He is super instinctive. It doesn't seem like he has to make decisions on the court. It seems like he just knows where he's going, and that's a hard guy to defend. It's very, very cerebral, much like LeBron James, in that way of making it look like he didn't plan it. It just kind of happens for him. He's an interesting guy to watch.
I like the idea of Maxey playing with Doncic and Porzingis. He's very confident, really instinctive, physical player, not afraid to bully players when he gets the chance. I see a little Lou Williams in him. I'm not going to lie to you.
And I think this kid could be a Lou Williams kind of player. It might be his role to be kind of a six-man off the bench, 20 minutes, give us great scoring, rip him for a little bit. I don't know. We'll have to see.
So we move over now to my beloved Brooklyn Nets. And this pick is interesting. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the Nets traded this pick. It wouldn't surprise me at all if this was part of a package along with Karis LeVert and Jared Allen and Taurean Prince for a superstar. I have no problem with that.
Sure.
But as it stands right now, the Nets have this pick. So they have a glaring hole at power forward. Rodion Kurucs had a major regression. And now with Steve Nash coming into the fold, I have no idea how he's going to try to run things. They don't need to be crazy small ball reliant. They can just go with the best power forward available. And I'm going to go with a guy who I've seen linked to the Nets a lot, Jalen Smith out of Maryland. Ironically, he is a stretch four, but that's just sheer coincidence. Fits the modern NBA mold perfectly. Really good defensively. I understand, you want him to put on a little bit of muscle, and he's not the best passer in the world, but I like Jalen Smith. I think he has a ton of talent. What do you think of the pick?
Yes, yes, yes. Especially now that you're going to be playing finally with this dynamic duo. We'll see if it actually. It will
be.
We'll see. Hey, listen. God willing, Jake. I'm telling you right now. Since I put myself on a Knicks band, the only team I'm not rooting for your team. The only team from New York that I am watching on a regular basis now is the Brooklyn Nets. So they better at least be entertaining. Look, no, I think the pick fits that. Pick fits the bill. And I see nothing wrong with your with where you're going here. So I like it. I like the pick.
You ready for my crazy Jalen Smith comparison?
Sure, hit me.
P.J. Brown. Remember P.J. Brown?
Yeah, I don't explain though. What do you see?
Thin lower body, thin lower top heavy.
Yeah,
like me, top heavy.
He is kind of odd looking, isn't he?
And the Nets like picking guys like that. Zanin Musa was a pencil when the Nets took him.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know. I'm kind of flip flopping on that analogy. But you know what? I'll leave it alone. I'll give it to you.
So we move over now to the second best team in the NBA last year, the Miami Heat. The NBA really needs to change how they do this. They need to do it like the NFL, quite honestly. The finals participants get the last 2 picks. The conference finals participants get the last 4 picks, et cetera, et cetera. I don't like that the Heat are picking 20. Nothing against them. I just think they should be lower based on how good they were this year. Where are the Heat going?
Well, before we get into that, I just want to clear something up. What was your pick at 17? Because I somehow have
Sadiq Bey.
Oh, you had Sadiq Bey, right?
Yeah.
See, that is the guy I would pick here because what does Miami need here? They need another shot creator. They absolutely need one. The guy might not be there though, so I'm trying to find a sizable replacement. But Hampton's gone. Vassal's gone. There's a lot to do here. So
where I've seen people say that this is the portion of the draft. Once you get out of the lottery, this is the portion of the draft where a lot of guys are similar in terms of ceiling, in terms of floor, in terms of ability. A lot of these guys are similar, and I tend to agree with it.
I agree with it too, but in lieu of having to find that guy, I'm kind of running out of guys to go to. So I'm kind of going chalk here, but not really. I'm going Josh Green out of Arizona. For a couple of reasons. He's got the physical kind of size you want for a guard wing. So he's coming in physically NBA ready. He's got the length. Look, if the shooter isn't there, let's go for the next best thing. Get a physical defender who can really compete at this level. I think he's going to slide right in and be competitive. He's getting better. His shot is getting better, but it's not there yet. He does he's cerebral, makes good decisions, but he needs to get his shot together. But it won't hurt having another real good defender on this Miami Heat team.
Every time I watch Josh Green, I see Josh Richardson. The Heat traded Josh Richardson, and now they get his mini-me. I think that's a fantastic pick, Nick. I really do.
Well,
you like the Austin Powers reference?
I did. Yeah, baby. No, I really do enjoy that stuff. Oh God, you crazy man.
Oh man. All right, before we get too far off the reservation,
let's
go. Let's go to the 76ers, a really weird team. This team should have been so much better than they were, but the way the roster is constructed, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Daryl Morey coming in, Doc Rivers coming in. The Sixers are just a weird team. And in terms of guys who fit that crazy roster, I'm going to go with a guy who you may not know if you're a casual NBA fan, but if you really dig into him, you see that he has a ton of talent. I'm going to butcher his name, so forgive me. Alexei Pokusevski out of Serbia. 7 foot tall, built like a pencil. I understand that, but you can't teach height. This kid's 7 feet tall, and he's a big man who can shoot. It's a miracle. How freaking long have the Sixers needed a stretch 4? I got to tell you, Nick, I don't think you can draw it up much better than Pokusevski.
It's Pojevski, just so you know, and I actually Pojevski.
Pojevski.
Yeah, okay. I don't think he's Serbia. In a lot of those Slavic languages, that K kind of glides. So it's
okay.
Pojevski.
I apologize.
No, it's fine. Look, you're right. You are right about his size. This kid needs to put on weight because he is tiny, but you can't teach height. This guy is big. He's going to be a good player, and he's going to be good right off the bat too. So they needed a perimeter player, and in this NBA, that kind of height on the perimeter, who can kind of combo, is super useful. We've seen it with a lot of guys here. Yeah, I like it. I like the pick. It's a really solid pick.
So we move over now to the Denver Nuggets, a team with just a ton of talent. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, what they did in the bubble, nothing short of incredible. Michael Porter Jr., Bol. They finally have the Millsap contract coming off the books.
Jeez.
Where do the Nuggets go?
And that Millsap contract felt like a lifetime, didn't it? Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
Well, hey, what do you do when you have everything? The Nuggets have everything kind of in place. So what do? You build your depth. You just pile on and just build your depth. I like this kid coming out of Alabama. I think they go point guard here. He's very, very small. Kira Lewis Jr. He's got the height. Like you said, even for 6'3", he's a twig. So he's got to put on some players, but he's got this beautiful floating shot that I love. Real good Euro step into this gorgeous teardrop shot. So, and on the other side of things, changes speeds. This man can be sprinting 20 miles an hour, stop on a dime, and change speed. He is going to be one of those guys that can shift momentum in short spurts. I see him as a 6-man or maybe a more of a 10-minute role player, 8-minute role player in the NBA. I think this is a good pickup for them to get them over that hump.
And that's fine. The Nuggets can take a guy to play behind Jamal Murray. They don't need a guy who can play a ton of minutes. I like Kira Lewis. I like that pick a lot. Reminds me a lot of Darren Collison when I watch him play.
Yeah. You know. Honestly, the comparison I was having, this guy was bigger, not height-wise, but he filled himself out a little more. Reminds me a lot of Nate Robinson. Just super, super quick.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very great at changing those directions, changing his shot angles. Reminds me a lot of that. He can't dunk like Nate Robinson. But
Muggsy Bogues.
That's actually pretty good too. Not as good a ball handler.
Right. So we move over now to the Utah Jazz, the team that started all this coronavirus nonsense with Gobert and Mitchell. Look, I think the Jazz need a power forward. I'm higher on a guy than most. This may surprise you. This may be the first real surprising pick we've had. But I got to go with the guy out of Arizona, Zeke Naji.
Yeah, it had to happen eventually.
Every time I watch this kid play, I see Taj Gibson. I see a guy who is just crazy physical, shoots a lot of skyhook-like shots, just a really coachable guy. I know Sean Miller likes him a lot. Look, I understand it's a little bit of a project, and I get that you want him to be more of a rim protector, but just in terms of physicality and offensive upside, which I think the Jazz could use playing next to Gobert. Just imagine those two guys playing together. You're not scoring inside. Zeke Naji's the pick.
Yeah, and I love what you said. It was a very important word you used, coachable. You need guys that are coachable in this league. This kid is going to fill that role. He's going to get better and better. If he needs to change his game, it won't feel like such a tumultuous chore for him. So I think you're right on the money here.
So we move on now to the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah. Obviously, they have Giannis, the disappointing playoff run. Giannis needs help. It's just that simple. Who are they taking?
Well, you know what I thought about is how do you improve? What do you improve when you have all the shooters, right? And they have all these shooters. You know what?
That's what you need around Giannis.
Yeah, but that's exactly how they played when they had Shaquille O'Neal with the Magic and Dwight Howard as well. They surrounded him with what? Guys who could shoot threes. So I think I'm going to do the same thing here and just give him another 3-shooter. I think he's still on our board. I do not see him taken. I'm going to go Ramsey. I'm going to go with Jamius Ramsey out of Texas Tech here.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sorry. Am I ruining your board here?
No, you know what it is? I have them just on a different page. I have so many notes in front of me. It's hard to keep them straight.
I have all
at least I did my homework for this.
Yes, me too. But all mine's just in these virtual notes. I'm getting better at doing that. Look, I really like the kid. He's a little further down. Definitely a combo type point guard. Definitely, but he's a great 3-point scorer. Knocks it standstill or in transition, doesn't matter. Again, has that beautiful floating shot. It's really hard to coach in the NBA. Doesn't come along very often. I've seen it twice in this draft. I think Jamius Ramsey is going to be just another guy that they can utilize. He needs to, he's got potential defensively, but my problem is he doesn't always play that side of the floor. He's very offensive minded. So if they can coach that out of him, I think this is a great pick.
I don't think it's crazy to say that at this point in the draft, Jamius Ramsey is the best shooter available. I have a weird player comp for you if I can find it. I know it's weird. Okay, here it is. You ready?
I'm ready.
Rashad McCants. Remember Rashad McCants? Former Piston?
Yeah, the Pistons. Yeah. Wow.
Isn't that a weird one?
Yeah, because you're really just like digging to the bottom of that bag of comparisons.
I'm sorry, Timberwolves. Timberwolves, not Pistons. Timberwolves.
It wasn't Pistons. Okay, all right.
I'm sorry. Whoa.
That is an odd comparison. You're really digging bottom of the barrel now. Not to say
they could both shoot, though. They could both shoot.
And quick releases, very quick releases. So I like what you're talking about. All right, I can see it.
So we move over now to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Probably the most overachieving team in the NBA. Everyone expected them to be garbage. And Chris Paul and Shea, Gallinari, Steven Adams, all these guys lift the Thunder up and they make the playoffs. Really, really crazy. The thing is, though, they have a lot of holes. It's weird for a playoff team. They just have a ton of holes. So that means that I can go best player available, and the best player available on my board is Leandro Bolmaro out of Argentina. I understand, again, the casual NBA fan may not know him, but Bolmaro is 6'7", built like a pencil. I get that. Needs to put on weight. But he's a really good ball handler, really good defensively. I understand that he didn't play a lot at Barcelona, really toolsy. This is an upside pick, but the Thunder have hit on these guys before. I think they could do it again with Bolmaro.
Yeah, you know what? And you're right. They have hit on these kind of guys that we weren't sure about. Are they going to work out? Are they not? And comes from having they've had good coaches in their entire existence, really. So I think Bolmaro makes sense here. I think I have the same worry as you, but at the same time, I see the tools.
All right, I think we got Zoom back. All right, you were kind of fuzzy there a little bit, but I think we got the gist of what you're saying. Man alive. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, I'm sorry. I just wish we had...
It's just weird to do, man.
Oh, God. I don't know how these guys do it every day. They're driving me nuts. So, we move over now to the Boston Celtics. You know what the good thing about that was? Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I got to catch up on my notes. Okay.
There you go.
So, we move over now to the Boston Celtics. This is their own pick, the second pick they've made so far. Who are the Celtics taking?
Well, again, I think we find ourselves in that same question, right? Well, the Celtics, as they're currently built, should be able to compete for a championship. Should they not? I mean, what is taking them so long? So I'm picking, by the way, I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm picking Celtics 3 times in this draft.
Is that right?
Yeah, it is.
Geez.
No, it's fine. I actually like this because I'm rebuilding. I'm rebuilding my enemy's team. Okay.
You get to sabotage them.
Exactly. I could destroy them if I want to. No, I'm gonna try and pick smart. You know what? I kept on saying low post help, low post help. There's another guy out there, the same concern about his height at the position, but I like Isaiah Stewart out of Washington.
Yeah.
This dude is absolutely shredded.
Yes, he
Jake.
is.
Here's not an ounce of fat on his body. He is 250 pounds. He looks like LeBron James when he came out. His body does. He's not quite as explosive as LeBron is, and that's not what you need at his center. He is going to be an absolute enforcer, if that can still be a thing in this league, down low. I really, really like this guy. No one's going to be backing him out of the low post. This dude is a absolute rebounding machine. You'll notice in the games the Celtics lost, in important games, they were losing the battle on the boards. This guy addresses that concern. I love Isaiah Stewart here. I'm actually kind of happy he was still available. I thought he might be reached for earlier, but I think we're good.
Here's the thing about Isaiah Stewart. He's guaranteed to score a lot in the NBA. What do I mean by that? A lot of teams are going to foul him. So naturally, Stewart's going to get a lot of time at the free throw line. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who, when he was at Washington, made 77% of his free throws. This kid is guaranteed to score in the NBA. He just is.
Yeah. Do you realize how crazy that statistic is?
That's like Steve Nash.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah.
So we move over now to the 27th pick. And I got to be honest with you, Nick.
Okay.
I don't like the number 27. The 27 club, it just scares me too much. I mean, a lot of really good musicians have died at that age. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse. I just don't like the number 27. So I would like to give you the right to pick 27th. If I can get 28, I'll do 29, you'll do 30, et cetera, et cetera. How does that sound?
You are throwing me for a loop here. But I will say this. I'm glad you gave me the Knicks again. I know that's kind of where we were headed. Wait a
minute. That's the Knicks? Huh. I wonder if I planned that.
Well, here's the thing, buddy. I got to ask you, if we do this, I want to be able to tell you who I would have picked and you vice versa.
Okay, fine. All right.
We're not putting it on our boards, but I just want to know who you would have taken.
Well, at 27 for the Knicks, I would give them a point guard since you already took a center for the best point guard on my board is, ironically, is another Frenchman. I'm not going to go that route for the Knicks. They failed there. Yeah. No. I'm not going to do that. I would have taken Nico Mannion.
Okay, so that's where you would have gone for the Knicks. I just wanted to know.
Correct.
To tell you right now, Mannion is my pick for the Lakers. But having said that, let's move on and let's find the actual pick. For me, look, I understand you're trying to go best available point guard, and I appreciate that. But again, I cannot bring myself to pick another Frenchman for them to screw up because I just don't think there's any way I don't think they have the tools to coach them.
I almost picked Maladon. Don't feel bad.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I'm left with a choice here. It's either take best available, which on my board is Nico Mannion, or I go with a little bit of a wild card here. And I think that's where I'm going to go. Only because I really like this kid. I actually saw him play a bunch, and I don't believe we've taken him. I'm looking through again. But I'm going to go Robert Woodard II out of Mississippi State. He is absolutely – he's exactly what you think of when you think of the modern-day small forward kind of combo forward. He's got the height. He's got a humongous wingspan, and he's a great defender. He's a 3-and-D type of guy. I think those guys play well on the Knicks. So I like Woodard here. Reminds me a lot of a Maurice Harkless when he came out, or rather what he's become. So, I think Robert Woodard II here is where I'm going.
Woodard is, you're right, he's a 3-and-D guy. I think he'd make perfect sense on the Knicks this is a sort of kind of best player available move. So, hey, I don't think there's anything wrong with that pick. We move over now to the LA Lakers, the NBA champions, obviously. And I've got to give them a center here. I just do. You know, as great as Anthony Davis was when they played small ball, he doesn't like it. And, you know, you have to respect that if you are the Lakers. And there's a guy who's still available, who I'm higher on than most. I'm going to go with Xavier Tillman out of Michigan State. This kid is, you know, if you can play for Tom Izzo, you can play anywhere. Izzo pushes his guys harder than any college coach. He's a physical guy, 6'8", 245. I understand the size isn't the greatest thing in the world, but he has a crazy wingspan, really good defender, can guard multiple positions. I like Xavier Tillman.
I think you got it right on the money here. Look, he's a guy, and you're right. Tom Izzo is definitely a guy who gets the most out of his players. But here's the only thing I can find.
Really fast on Izzo. Got the coronavirus. Wish him well.
I'm sorry to hear that. And by the way, I don't think we've mentioned it at all, really. Well, we've alluded, but to anybody out there dealing with this, I hope that what we're giving you is a nice break from having to think about everything else that's going on. So right. Something we could do for you. I hope we've done it.
Well said.
I love Tillman. I think you got it right on the money here. I like that he comes from a good coaching pedigree. Only issue that we're all going to point to, and everybody's going to point to it, his size. Can he overcome the issues that come with being an undersized center? He's got the weight for it, and he's a big, bulky, blocky kind of guy. But we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. I like it. Now, this is actually interesting, Jake, as we turn the page here. You're still taking the Raptors, right?
That is correct.
All right.
The Toronto Raptors, the team that likes to think there's a rivalry with the Nets. I mean, there sort of kind of is, although there really isn't. I mean, look, it was a bad series. I mean, those games were jokes. I quite honestly, I thought the Nets should have withdrawn from the Disney bubble because they were fielding this skeleton crew, and I knew they weren't going to compete in the playoffs. Jacques Vaughn finished with a winning record in the seeding games, but hey, when he got to the playoffs, he laid an egg. The Raptors are in a similar spot. I'm going to give them another center. I'm going to go with a guy who played really well in college. And look, I like those guys. I like guys who produce in college. I'm going to go with Udoka Azubuike out of Kansas, 7 feet tall, 270 pounds. He's a mountain of a man. You're not going to move this guy. I'm telling you, he's a mountain. He's an absolute mountain of a man. Almost won National Player of the Year. Really good defensively. I got to go with Azubuike here.
Look, I love Azubuike. What I was saying was if March Madness had gone on as it should have, it is very possible in my mind we would be talking about as it is. Absolute player of the year was that close. Only shooting 44% on free throws. It's going to be a hack-a-shack experience with him if he produces right away. The other thing is he's had issues with the coaching. It really is an attitude issue I look at Azubuike for. Let's see if he grows out of it, and let's see what he can do, because just on paper, this pick is money. You're going to pay him nothing. You're going to have him for 4 years guaranteed, and he's going to be an immediate presence at center in the NBA. Great pick.
Let me ask you something. When you watch him play, don't you see a little bit of Eddie Curry in him?
just about to say that, which actually scares me because we all know how the sad epic of Eddie Curry ended.
I loved Eddie Curry. What are you talking about?
Oh, stop it. But, yes,
Okay.
What he was supposed to be, yes, absolutely.
So now we're back to normal here. The Boston Celtics, the last pick in the first round. We're halfway through this. We're getting through this. Like you said, Nick, this is your third pick for the Celtics. What are you doing?
So, what's funny is I thought about this since I made the last pick, and I said, boy, I've already shored up their center problem, their forward problem. I cannot believe this guy. I was actually thinking about taking Tyler Bay here, but this kind of talent, I don't think you can pass on it. We're taking Mannion here. You have to. Best player left on the board right now. Did I say? Yeah, I'm sorry. Nino. Finding Nino. Nico Mannion here. He's a guy you're going to plug in. He's going to function in a Brad Stevens offense right away. He's probably not going to get a ton of playing time, which I think will make him happy. Not happy. It's going to make his appearances far more useful because guys who know, hey, I got to make a play here with the minutes I have often, especially under Stevens' regime there, have tended to succeed in small bursts of roles. So I like him. I think Nico Mannion out of Arizona, and I love players out of Arizona. I don't know if you've noticed, but I think he makes all the sense in the world right now.
Good program at Arizona. Very underrated. Nico Mannion was viewed as a top prospect when this all got going. Then he fell behind a guy like Najee, and his stock really dipped. He didn't develop physically as some people thought he would. Not a great offensive player, but he's not bad defensively. I think he's underrated defensively. I like Nico Mannion. I think that pick can work.
Right.
So now we're on to the second round. And everyone tends to throw away second-round picks. I don't get why. Do you have any idea how many great NBA players have come out of the second round? Monte Ellis, Manu Ginobili, Dennis Rodman, Chris Middleton. The list of guys that have been picked in the second round and have become fantastic players runs a mile long. I don't want to hear anyone say that second-round picks don't matter. They absolutely do. The Dallas Mavericks are making the first pick in the second round at 31st overall. And I'm going to go with Daniel Oturu here out of Minnesota. I understand Minnesota, not the biggest basketball school in the world. And I understand the size, 6'9", 240. I get that. That's concerning to some people. But you take a look at his freshman season compared to his sophomore season, big jump, really good offensively. I think he can control the boards defensively. Reminds me a little bit of Maurice Spates. Remember him?
I think it's a good pick. Again, you mentioned the size. The size is a concern. It's still going to be a concern for me. Again, for me, especially this much later into a draft, the concern rises as can he rise above his size. So really, I'll harp on that. Normally, I wouldn't, but considering we're doing second round is where I really start to get concerned about that. So otherwise, you're right. The tools that he has, he's going to control the boards. I love the pick.
So we move over now to the Charlotte Hornets. We already gave them a point guard in LaMelo Ball. Who are the Hornets taking here?
Well, I mean, at this point in the draft, I feel as though I'm kind of just going with who's the best available, who can I really win with. I mentioned him before, and I think this is a good place for him. It's a good spot for him. I'm going to go with Tyler Bay out of Colorado. This kid won Defensive Player of the Year in his conference. He is a really good – he's another one of these really good stretch wingmen. big old wingspan, 7-footer if you just can't count his arms. But I think he's going to make an immediate impact from the second round on a team that needs a lot of help.
Yes, they do. I kind of like the idea of LaMelo and Tyler Bay playing together. Really good rebounder, really good defender. Tyler Bay is Andre Roberson, just with a better offensive game.
See that?
So,
yeah, sure.
We move over now to the Minnesota Timberwolves as my notes get tangled up here. Okay, there we go. Timberwolves already made 2 picks here. Timberwolves could really use a small forward here. Unfortunately, when I look at my notes, I don't see a great small forward available. So at this point, I'm going to go best player available. He's been sitting on the board long enough. I think he has a ton of talent. I'm going to go with a guy who I know you're not crazy about. I am. And that, my friend, is Theo Maledon, the point guard out of France. Yeah, I didn't pick him for the Knicks because, well, I didn't say I was going to pick him with the Knicks because of the French point guard connection. But, look, he has size you can't teach. 6'5", built like a pencil. I get that. But he has a great offensive game. He's efficient, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I like Theo Maledon. I really do.
Yeah, listen, I don't mind it here because, look, we're in the second round. These guys are going to come in, and they're not going to be coached by the Knicks. I honestly do think they've learned their lesson with these European players. But this pick makes all the sense in the world. This is a good one. Yeah, he makes sense here.
Yeah, Maledon strikes me as the kind of guy who could be picked in the second round and make an immediate impact that no one's expecting. So we move over now to the 34th overall pick that belongs to the Philadelphia 76ers. Who are they taking?
I don't think it matters. And I mean that in no.
Okay, pass.
I mean that only in the way of I don't think it matters because they have all these physical tools. They have all these players that should be playing way above how they're playing. What they need right now, key position help at all as far as depth is concerned. So at this point, they're literally the poster child right now for take the best player available. Going to Michigan State, I'm getting him a nice backup point guard in Cassius Winston. He is easily the best pick and roll guard in this. I can't put him over. Okay, he's on the back half of the talent scheme. He's one of the better pick and roll guards in this draft, which is definitely a way they should be playing more of in Philadelphia. I like this pick. I think it makes a lot of sense for him.
See, the thing with a guy like go ahead.
To progress, but I think Winston makes all the sense in the world here.
Here's what I like about Cassius Winston going to the Sixers. Him and Ben Simmons are so different. Simmons, really tall, can't shoot to save his life. Cassius Winston, 6'1", 185 pounds. He hit 43% of his over 600 collegiate threes. I think it gives the Sixers a lot of different options that they can use. I got to tell you, I think Cassius Winston would immediately contribute for the Sixers if given the opportunity. So we move over now to the Sacramento Kings, and I would love, absolutely love, to give them a center here, but all the centers are gone. So I'm going to go to their second biggest need, which is point guard. This is a guy who from last year to this year took a major jump. I got to go with Trey Jones out of Duke. I understand, he didn't jump off the tape. I get that. But, again, the leap that he took when you study the film, it jumps out at you when you just focus on him. I think Trey Jones has a lot of potential. I think there's some talent there. National champion What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and look, I think winning is important. I think the fact that he's experienced it at, I think, every level he's played. I think it's a good thing to bring into the NBA. But yeah, I like the pick for Jones. I think you're making sense here.
I have a crazy player comp. You ready?
Okay, go for it.
Tyus Jones.
That's not crazy at all to me.
Okay.
No.
Right,
I mean, like, I think it'd be crazy because I don't. No, I like that comparison. That makes a lot of sense to me. Very similar playing styles.
Thank you. So we move over now to the Philadelphia 76ers back on the clock in the second round because we know the Sixers love their seconds. Who are the Sixers taking here?
Well, I mean, the best pick on the board is probably still a point guard, but I'm not going to double up on point guards for them. I'm going to go. I think Bane just kind of gives them more depth, which is what they're going to need if they're going to continue to compete with this team as it's currently constructed. So Desmond Bane is getting picked 6th in the second round.
I like Desmond Bane a lot coming out of TCU. I understand not the biggest basketball school in the world, but look, this kid has talent. When you watch him play, he just does. There's no question about it. I had him just at the end of the first round on my big board. I like Bane a lot. I really, really do.
Thank you.
So we move over now to the Washington Wizards, and it's time. I have to pick a center here. And the best center available is, it is this guy. Let's go with Vernon Carey. I shouldn't doubt myself. I almost put Reggie Perry ahead of Carey, but no. Vernon Carey is better than Reggie Perry. He is the best center available, and I think he fills a huge need for the Wizards in that front court. Carey played really well at college at Duke. He reminds me a lot of a guy like Derek Coleman, former Net. I know it's a weird comparison, but it's true.
I like the Carey pick here. Yeah, Carey pick here is great. Look, we're scratching the bottom of the barrel as far as the centers are concerned. So I disagree with you. I think I like Reggie Perry better, but I really don't think you're going to see too much difference here. It's apples and apples at this point.
Okay. So the New York Knicks back on the clock at 38. It's amazing how you ended up with all 3 Knicks picks.
Yeah, how'd that happen?
All right, who are the Knicks taking?
At this point, I don't think we're really scratching the bottom of the barrel here as far as talent is concerned. I think I'm going to go you know what I am. I'm going to go with a point guard here. No, it is not a Frenchman. I'm going to go with a kid I saw very little of, but when I did see him play, I liked his style. I liked his ability. I'm going to go with Peyton Pritchard here. I'm kind of surprised he slunk down this low, but also not really. He was definitely going to be in the second round. I like Pritchard out of Oregon. What do you think?
I like Peyton Pritchard a lot. Dominated at Oregon. Every time I watched him play, this kid looked like a man among boys. Reminds me a lot of TJ McConnell. Hard-nosed competitor. He's a winner. Just knows how to win. Plays the game the right way.
Yeah.
I think Peyton Pritchard is going to be a really good player in this league for a long time.
Yeah.
So now we move on to the New Orleans Pelicans back on the clock here. And I got to give the Pelicans a center. It's time for Reggie Perry to come off the board. It's kind of funny. We're debating about Vernon Carey and Reggie Perry. Only on this show will you get that type of a debate. But look, I think it's a fair one. Reggie Perry is really aggressive. He's really broad, big guy, built like a tank. Really good rebounder, really good inside. He's a poor man's Bam Adebayo. That's who Reggie Perry is.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I look, this, what do they need? They need a guy who can clear and get his work done on the boards. Perry's the guy. He's an easy pick here.
So we move on to the 40th overall pick, the Memphis Grizzlies, their first pick in the draft. Where are the Grizzlies going?
Look, I think they need wing help. They and I don't think it's a bad thing to continue just add on and throw something at the wall and see what sticks. We're really getting to the bottom of the pile here, but you know where I'm going? I'm going to Louisville. I'm going to Jordan Nwora. I think this is another guy. He kind of can swing from small forward to power forward. He's a guy that I as a second round pick gives you all the value you need. I like Nwora here for the group.
Yeah, I like Jordan Nwora too. He can guard multiple positions, which I like. He's a really, really fantastic three-point scorer. He reminds me a lot of T.J. Warren, the way that Warren played in the bubble. Just in terms of how well he can shoot, that's Jordan Warren. Yeah. He's going to be a three-point weapon. He just is. So we move over now to the San Antonio Spurs. And I would absolutely love to give them a center here. But I don't, is it too early for him? No, it's not. Again, I shouldn't doubt myself. I'm going to go with Killian Tilly out of Gonzaga. See, the thing with Tilly is he kind of got overshadowed by a guy like Filip Petrusev, but he's a stretch four, really good release, 6'10", 230, good athlete. I understand the injury concerns, but if this guy stays healthy, he can be Danilo Gallinari 2.0.
Boy, that is some high praise, and I think you're kind of right on the money there. Danilo Gallinari was a freak of nature, and it was really one of the first times I experienced seeing a guy that height just being a total three-point nightmare. I think this is a great comparison. And also I like the comparison because he was a Knick.
I wanted him on the Nets a while ago. So
did you really? All right.
Yeah. It was, I think, the 2017 offseason when Gallinari was a free agent. Wanted him on the Nets badly. So we move over now to the New Orleans Pelicans, back on the clock. They've already filled out their front court pretty well in this draft. Where are they going from here?
Shooters. Keep getting shooters. Surround them with shooters. It's depth time, baby. So just get guys who can shoot and make big shots off the bench. The shooting talent, however, is starting to diminish as we get further and further down the line here. I'm going to go maybe a touch of a reach. I think I'm going to go with Skylar Mays out of LSU.
That's not a reach.
I think this is a guy who can it's not a reach? All right. I think it's a guy
47.
who has an – okay, good. All right, then we're right on the money then. I think he's a guy who can definitely defend if he puts his mind to it, but for the time being, just put him out there. If you're open, stand still, take a three.
He's a senior. I mean, he's polished. He's not going to get much better than this. Look, doesn't have a ton of upside, but he has a high floor. I think Mays can contribute as a 9th or 10th man off the bench. I don't mind that pick at all. So we move over now to the Sacramento Kings, back on the clock once again. And they've taken enough backcourt guys. I'm not going to give them another backcourt guy. I'm going to give them I can't give him a center. I was going to give him Philip Petrusev, but he withdrew from the draft, so I really can't do that. Oh, man, this is tough. When we get to this portion of the draft, it's just tough.
Yeah.
It really, really is. Okay. I'm going to go with Caleb Wesson out of OSU. Maybe a little bit of a reach, but look, they really need a center. Wesson played really well at OSU. He really the production is off the charts. Really long wingspan, good stretch four. I understand, not the best defender in the world, but I like Caleb Wesson.
I think you're pretty. Look, I think this is a good pick, especially given the where we are in the draft. Yeah, it's a good pick. Wesson.
So
I like the name too, Wesson.
Smith and Wesson. Do the Kings have a guy with the last name of Smith? They could be Smith and Wesson together. That'd be pretty good. So we move over now to the Chicago Bulls. Where are they going?
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like I'm going to just take best available here. I think I've addressed their needs. So, because I believe I picked for them. Yeah, I did. I picked for them earlier. So, this is a tough one for me as well, dear sir. Yeah, you know what? Let's throw in some more backcourt help. I'm going to go – I love Hughes, guys. I'm going Elijah Hughes out of Syracuse. I haven't had the chance to watch him intently, but what I've seen in spurts has been a very, very active player. And the other thing that I really do like about Elijah Hughes, I love his size at the point guard position. He's got elite size. I think he's probably – I don't think he's top 10 point guard, top 5 left in the draft. I think he can help right away.
Yeah, he's a guy who's kind of flown under the radar.
Here.
Yeah, he's flown under the radar all year, but he has a ton of potential. He can score. He can make big shots. I really like his size. I see a little bit of Wayne Ellington in him. I think he could turn into that type of a shooter.
Which would be very, very helpful off the bench.
Yes, it would be. So we move over now to the Orlando Magic. And I'm going to go with Isaiah Joe here out of Arkansas. One of the best three-point shooters in the nation. Quick release, catch and shoot. He reminds me a lot of Steve Novak. I just think he can have that type of an impact. I got to go with Isaiah Joe.
I love that comparison just because – did you ever play NBA 2K?
Of course.
Okay. Steve Novak forever when he was with the Knicks was rated like 56, but everybody put him on their team just because he would just drain threes the whole – Your team would be unstoppable for Steve Novak alone. No, it makes sense, man. This is a great pick here. I love Joe. I was thinking I would get him a little later down. I think that was going to be, if I'm right here, I was going to take him for the Warriors. But I'm glad you picked them. That's a good pick for the Magic. They need three-point shooting. Good pick.
Well, you have a couple picks to get through before you get to the Warriors because the Portland Trailblazers are now on the clock. What are the Blazers doing?
I'm trying to fill in the spots around Lillard and McCollum, but now we're in the second round, man. And to have I don't think we're finding – for me, I'm looking at a guy – I don't think this is too crazy. I'm looking at a guy like Grant Riller out of Charleston. Now, this is this is a real reach pick because I don't think anybody –
No, it's not.
Well, here's why. I don't think anyone knows where Charleston is. I don't think anybody knows that that's a basketball program. So, no, I mean, especially in that area of the country when they're surrounded by the other great ones. So you have Grant Riller, 6'3", 190. He's a kind of do-everything point guard. He's NBA ready. I think he can spare minutes that they're going to need or rest. Because the problem with Damian Lillard, I have found, is that he gets tired because he needs to be in the game all the time for them to be successful.
See, the thing with Riller is if he played at a big school, or maybe if I saw him in a tournament, he'd be a lot higher on my board. He's a jack of all trades, master of none. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he burst onto the scene as a really good NBA player that we're just not expecting to turn into anything fantastic. But again, College of Charleston, it's tough, but Riller has a ton of potential, Nick. I like that pick a lot.
What did we say before? We kept on talking about second-round guys that might surprise us. I think Riller might be one of them.
So we move over now to the Boston Celtics, and I would absolutely love to give them a power forward here, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with Khalil Whitney out of Kentucky. I don't know if he's related to Eli Whitney, the inventor of the cotton gin, but I think Whitney has a ton of potential. Again, playing for Calipari, that does mean something to me. He has a ton of upside, really strong guy, crazy wingspan. I think Whitney can turn into something solid in the NBA.
I don't think you're wrong. He's an experiment. Are fun for coaches in the NBA.
Okay, so we move over now to the Golden State Warriors. And the Warriors obviously picked James Wiseman earlier in this draft. You have him again. Where are they going? Assuming you can still hear me.
So Golden State,
Yes,
at this point, I think I can hear you. Are you there?
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay. Golden State at this point, I think where we are in the draft, I want guys who are going to come out and have meaningful minutes. I want guys who are going to come out and be able to kind of do a little bit of everything, but also guys who are going to be productive. And I love this kid because of his field goal percentage during the season. He's a Duke kid. I'm taking Cassius Stanley right here. And I think he's going to be an immediate impact, kind of a guy you can plug in when Klay's tired, or you can maybe even experiment a little bit if you need a break for Stephen Curry. So I like Cassius Stanley right here.
Yeah, again, if you can play for Mike Krzyzewski, you can play for Steve Kerr, you can play in the NBA. I like guys from big schools. I really do. I've seen some people compare Stanley to Latrell Sprewell. I wouldn't go that far, but look, Stanley has a ton of potential, fantastic athlete. He's kind of old, born in 99, so, he'll be 21. Yeah, I know. He'll be 21 compared to some of the 18 and 19-year-olds we're talking about. That's old. It just is. I like Stanley. I think he can be a solid player in the NBA. So we move over now to the Philadelphia 76ers, back on the clock again. And fortunately for them, they have a hole at shooting guard. There are some good shooting guards still available. And I'm going to go with a guy who I have listed as a point guard, but look, the NBA is going more positionless. It just is. And I think this guy can play shooting guard. I really do. I understand he's a little small, but he has the shooting necessary to be a good shooting guard. He's a guy with a really good mid-range game. At San Diego State last year, he put up 17.5 points per game. I'm going to go with Malachi Flynn, a guy who reminds me a lot of Jarrett Jack, really aggressive defensively, great basketball IQ, What do you think of Flynn?
Love it. Love this pick. For all of those reasons, but not the least of excuse me. But not the least of which is that he comes out of San Diego State, a soaring basketball college right now and football college. And also my brother lives there, so I love the pick. I think I've seen him play. Rich has raved about him. My brother, of course.
Yeah.
Out there. So I like the pick here. I really do like the pick.
So we move over now to the Atlanta Hawks. Holes up and down the roster. Besides Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, and Cam Reddish, you don't have any building blocks. John Collins, maybe, but they're going to have to pay him a ton of money soon. I don't know what the Hawks do with him. Where are the Hawks going here at 50?
Well, here's the thing. I can't believe this guy slipped this far. And if I'm not mistaken, and this is an easy one for me, no, you didn't take him. This is easy for me. Have you ever heard of a young man named Sam Merrill out of Utah State? This dude's This dude's career is awesome. And what the Hawks need more than anything is another shot creator who can kind of do it without help. He's a shooting guard. He's He's got the size, 6'5", 205, active defender, although not a great defender, but an active defender, but got better every single year, a senior coming out. I love Sam Merrill. I think he makes all the sense in the world.
Here's my knock on Merrill. Utah State, small school, and
I know.
Very one-dimensional. He's only going to do one thing in the NBA, and that's shoot threes. I'm not as high on Merrill as some people are. So we move over.
He just addresses the need.
Yes, it does. It does.
No.
You can always stand to add more shooting. So we move over now to the Golden State Warriors, and this is the point in the draft, we're nearing the end, where you're going to see some teams, again, throw away picks, and I just don't understand it. There's a guy here who I think would fill a huge need for the Warriors at backup power forward and can possibly turn into a replacement for Draymond down the line, and that is Paul Eboa out of Cameroon. Crazy athletic, really good frame, does all the stuff that doesn't show up in the box score. Reminds me a lot of Noah Vonleh when I watch Eboa play.
I like the comparison. I'm not as versed on him as you, but I do think it definitely fills a position of need. And you got to keep in mind, eventually they're going to have to move on from Draymond Green. And not for any other reason than he's going to want to continue getting paid. And his skill set is going to continue to their concern. That isn't now, but it's upcoming.
Yes, it is. No question about that. Sacramento Kings back on the clock. This is their fourth pick. Where are they going?
Geez. Does it really matter? They're the Sacramento Kings. I'm kidding, of course. I don't really know what to do here, but there's a guy I like. I might have been sort of saving him for a team, but at this point, you know what? I think I'm about ready to go for it. I like this kid out of DePaul, Paul Reed. I like him because he's a position of need for the Kings. He's got great size. He's a very skillful athlete, but he's also a banger. So I'm on Paul Reed out of DePaul, going to the Kings.
Yeah, I like Paul Reed. I had him a little bit lower on my board, but if he went here, I wouldn't be too upset about it. He is a guy who can kill you inside. There's no question. Very physical player. I have no complaints with Paul Reed whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we move on now to the Oklahoma City Thunder on the clock again. I had them taking Leandro Bolmaro earlier. And I'm going to go with a front court guy here, Freddie Gillespie out of Baylor. Had really good production last year. I understand that he has a low ceiling. And he's a 10th man off the bench, probably. But he's a really good rebounder, really good shot blocker. I like Freddie Gillespie. I really do.
Yeah, no qualms with it. Look, he has all the skills you look for. It's just where we're drafting him. And you're right. It's not a high ceiling for him, but it's also a what do you call those players? A boomer bust. It doesn't really not boomer bust, but a low ceiling but low risk also. So I like this pick here. I think you're not throwing your pick away, but you're definitely addressing a concern late in the draft that even if it doesn't work out, it's not killing you.
Right. So now we're on to the Indiana Pacers. Where are the Pacers going? The former arch rival of the New York Knicks for the first time in this draft.
Yeah, right. So look, if he was still available, and you took him, you definitely had him higher. I love Tilly here, but there's no way unless they trade up they could get him. And you've already taken him naturally.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks a lot. But they need center help. Is what I'm kind of trying to figure out here. There's another one though. There's got to always be another one. There's a guy coming out from Kentucky, and I like centers from Kentucky. They've had success there in the past. I'm going Nick Richards. Couple reasons. Number one, 7-footer, 247, hyper athletic, very, very, very active on the boards.
Yeah, look, I'm not in love with Richards. He has good tools. The thing is, though, he's still raw. Calipari didn't get a lot out of him. He has upside, but it's going to take him a couple years in the G League to really develop. And look, I hope the Pacers give him that time, but I don't know if they will. I don't know if any team will. It wouldn't surprise me if he went overseas, if he goes undrafted, develops his game a little bit more, and then makes the jump to the NBA and turns into something solid.
Fair enough.
So the Brooklyn Nets are on the clock for the second time. And look, I'd love to give them another big man. But, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do it. I almost didn't because I wasn't sure how he'd fit in the Nets system, but then I remembered, this is Steve Nash. We have no idea how this guy's going to coach. I'm going to go with John Teskey out of Michigan. Big guy, incredibly strong, 7'1", 265 pounds. He can push Nick Claxton a little bit for that backup center spot. Not the most athletic player in the world, but he's working on a three-pointer, has that prototypical NBA build that you look for. What do you think of Teskey?
I have questions, but I think, again, we're talking about the bottom of the draft. I like his physical tools, and I like more than that, I like where he's going. I think going to the Nets, where he will absolutely not start right away, it will be a good chance for him to see how these guys work every day. I'm hoping it's not chaotic.
It won't be. I really think the Brooklyn Nets are going to win an NBA title very, very soon. So we're nearing the home stretch of this draft, the last 5 picks, starting with the Charlotte Hornets. What are they doing?
So we're probably going to speed up a little here. You know who I like here? Hasn't gotten a lot of attention. I like Kenyon Martin Jr. here.
Yeah.
Very questionable decision skipping college, but a guy coming from that kind of pedigree intrigues me, especially the fact that his father was very successful NBA player. I love his size. To me, this is a no-brainer, especially run by Michael Jordan, having that connection. I think this is a good place for him to make his name in the NBA.
I wanted to put Kenyon Martin Jr. so much higher on my big board because of who his father was, but I just couldn't. He's undersized. He's going to have to develop his perimeter game a little bit more, but I'm not sure how much he can. I think he can carve out a nice role for himself in the NBA because he is really an explosive driver, but again, time will tell.
Yep.
So we move over now to the LA Clippers, my pick to win the NBA title last year, and my God, did they fall flat on their face. Fortunately for them, I think they can get a lot of help with this pick. There's a guy who I'm stunned has fallen this far. I really am.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Devon Dotson out of Kansas. Reminds me a lot of Patrick Beverley. Great defensively, incredibly fast. He's able to run on offense, which I think could open up some interesting possibilities in that new Ty Lue-led offense. I think Devon Dotson is a match made in heaven for the Clippers.
I wonder if he will suffer the same fate in the draft that he suffered with us. Guys kind of forgetting he's available. I think the Clippers would love a guy like this to come off and be an active defender off their bench. I think he makes all the sense in the world here. This is a perfect pick for the Clippers. Love it. Love this pick.
So we move over now to the Philadelphia 76ers. By my count, they've taken a total of 4 guys.
Some of the guys that start for them have trouble shooting. Now that I've rebuilt the Philadelphia 76ers in this draft, so go win, okay? No more excuses. So I'm going to say this. There's a kid, strangely enough, I know you're going to kill me, out of Canada, of all places. I'm going Kareem Maine here. Big, tall, good shooter, active defender, another kind of everything shooting guard. But I like Kareem Maine here for the 76ers.
Okay. I mean, look, I don't hate Kareem Maine. I think he can turn into a decent NBA player. I understand Canada kind of scares some teams off, but he's a combo guard, attacks the rim really well, crazy athletic. Yeah, I don't mind Kareem Maine at all.
All right.
So we move on now to the only Canadian team in the NBA, unless the Vancouver Grizzlies want to become a thing again. The Toronto Raptors, and this is another guy who I'm stunned has fallen this far. I'm going to go with Emmanuel Quickley out of Kentucky. Combo guard, nice size, 6'4", 180, can shoot the three. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Quickley had a solid NBA career.
Well, you took my last pick, my Mr. Insignificant, away from me. Yeah, no, I think this...
Is that the Mystery Irrelevant for the NBA, Mr. Insignificant?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're calling him Mr. Insignificant. Look, I think this is a really good pick. You're right. I cannot believe we've let him slip this far, but we have. But he had to get picked in this draft, and there he is. I like the pick. I think he has all the upside in the world as a 59th overall. But, yeah, I think this is a good pick here.
So the New Orleans Pelicans will make someone Mr. Insignificant
That's right.
Who were they giving that dubious distinction to?
Well, you know what? It's a real honor to have done this with you and to have a Mr. Insignificant pick a Mr. Insignificant. So again, when you have the talent you have for the Pelicans, the kind of inside talent, it's all about surrounding them with perimeter shooters and perimeter defenders. And in this case, I hate to sound like a broken record. I really do. I don't think we've taken him yet. I haven't seen him. If I screw this up, I'm sorry. But I'm going with Nate Hinton out of Houston. Good body, nice and long, active, very, very athletic, super athletic, almost to a fault. But I like Nate Hinton. He gets out of control sometimes on his drives. He's not a terrific ball handler, but Nate Hinton he's a really good pick for the I think for the Pelicans.
If everything goes right for Nate Hinton, he can turn into a Russell Westbrook type.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because he has that body and he has that, that activity. No play is an off play for him.
When you watch Hinton play, I'm telling you, you just see a lot of Westbrook in him. It's really, really crazy. I can't say it any better than that. Just go watch some old Houston Rockets and Oklahoma City Thunder games.
And you know what I love about him is that he's going to be pissed off for being picked last.
Yes, he is.
He's going to want to just put it in the face of every owner and GM that passed up on him.
Okay, that's it. 60 picks in the books. The 2020 NBA mock draft on the Jacob Valk Show is over. Done via Zoom. Thanks for sticking with us through the technical difficulties. Nick, thank you so much for agreeing to do this, for sticking through all this nonsense, all this craziness, all this mania, whatever word you want to use. I'll let you say the final word for you.
Well, I'll just say my wife's going to come home and be like, what the hell is this? It's just a bunch of numbers and names. Like, what were you doing today? And I'm going to be like, honey, I was working.
Yes. You can expect your check in 7 to 10
100 years.
No, Baktun, the Mayan calendar.
Oh, I apologize. I haven't brushed up on my Aztecian or whatever.
Incan.
Oh, whatever.
Okay, tomorrow I'm going to eulogize Tom Heinsohn, talk about the really out-of-the-box hire that was made today in the NBA, a no-name assistant becoming an NBA head coach, similar to Nate Bjorkgren earlier, Mark Daigneault becoming the next head coach of the Thunder. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Until next time, I am Jacob Valk saying that Rome wasn't born in a day.